It was around 4:30 when I got in from school. Rain dripping out from my heavily saturated clothes. There was cold, and there was this. Shivering couldn't describe it. My whole body was shaking head to toe. I was almost certain that if I had been out there any longer, my organs would have gone into shutdown, and I would have just collapsed onto the street. I reached for a towel, dried myself off as best as I could, and headed upstairs to change. Whilst on my journey upstairs, I removed several articles of clothing and put them on the house radiators as I went. I skimmed off my socks and hoodie, placed them on the living room radiator. Then my shirt, which I placed on the radiator at the bottom of the stairs. Making my way up, I turned up the thermostat as high as it could possibly go. Before my jeans and underwear on the radiator, just outside of my bedroom. I changed into some clean clothes and made myself comfortable. I tucked myself into bed and placed my laptop over my knees. I began to browse YouTube for a good creepypasta reading. And before long, I found a good reading of Edgar Allan Poe's classic, The Telltale Heart. Not really a creepypasta, but it's the story I enjoyed hearing that never gets old to me. About 5 minutes into the story, I began feeling drowsy. It was my own fault, really, given the night before I was up late watching Family Guy reruns on TV. I made the decision to rest my eyes for a bit while I listened to the story, given it had no video. And I had some time to kill before my mom got home and made something good to eat. So I closed my eyes, and before long my surroundings faded. The voice in the video dissolved into the sound of the pouring rain impacting my roof. My shivering stopped, and I felt as though I had become part of the air around me. The feeling felt particular, but it was a nice feeling. And so I did nothing to fight it. I just drifted off into an unusual form of dreamless sleep. After a short while, I sprung out of bed with an unusual amount of life. I felt so well rested, I looked at my clock. I'd only been sleeping for half an hour. Normally I would have been a tad suspicious about this, but given how amazing I felt, I just threw caution to the wind and went about my business. My parents were home, both of them. It's unusual, I thought. My dad is never home early. My mom was on the phone. She sounded worried. I couldn't make out a single word she was saying, almost as though she was speaking a strange language. The words sounded perfectly clear, I just couldn't understand them. I asked her what was wrong, and she just blanked me, as she does when I interrupted her on the phone. I felt rude, and so I went away and found myself not to disturb her again. 10 more minutes passed before an ambulance appeared outside my house. This is a fairly normal occurrence. The couple next door are both paramedics. But unlike normal, the sirens are screaming, overpowering the sounds of the rain. The blue lights lighting up the darkening sky. I heard a knock at the door. 2 men in green uniforms pushed past me as I ran upstairs to see what was happening. I overheard the word hypothermia as they darted past me up the narrow staircase. I yelled at my parents. What's happening? I received no response, just a tear forming in the pit of my mother's eye. Then I saw it. Something that made my blood turn cold, and my heart skipped a beat. The 2 paramedics that brought down the stretcher, and there, on the stretcher, cold and lifeless. Me. I laid there in a dreamless sleep.